So good morning. So before starting today's class, let us just have a look at the college database which we had discussed in our previous classes. So student table. So it had um, four columns. So now onwards we will be calling columns as attributes. So student table has four attributes: USN, name, mobile, and email. Then we have stored some records in this particular table. The second table which we discussed was department table. Again, in here the department table is having four attributes: name, intake, university, and degree, and few rows of data. So the first row, it is the uh, column header. So this gives the information about the table. So it is called as metadata. So similarly, admission table is there. So admission table has four attributes where USN attribute values will be linked to the student table, whereas the department values will be linked to the department table. And then we had seen the subject table. Again, the subject table is with four attributes: code, name, credits, and hours per week. So then enroll is a relationship between the student and the subject tables. So where USN values will come from student table and code value will come from subject table. So with these things in mind, if we want to link our program to the database, so this is how it will be done. So in our sum program, we will be importing the library packages in order to interact with the database. Then from the APIs that are present in this particular package, we will be calling the DBMS software. Then the DBMS software, based on the function call, it will perform the actions in the secondary storage. So keep these things because it is required for today's class. So then let us directly go to today's topic, that is data model. So let us look into the few terms related to database. Table, so it is called as an entity type, or we call it as a relation. Then each table row, it is called as a tuple or entity. Table header is a metadata. Column header is an attribute. The values that we store inside the table, so that will have a data type and the range of values from which we can choose. So that is called as domain. Number of columns in the table, it is called as a degree of a relation. So number of columns is nothing but degree of a relation. Column is nothing but attribute. So number of attributes in a table is called as degree of a relation. Number of rows in a table, it is called as cardinality of a relation. And again, number of rows means it is the number of tuples. So rules, we call them as constraints. So the operation which we perform on the table is insert, delete, and update. So with this, we will start the next topic, data model. So data model is nothing but the set of concepts that is used to describe the structure of the database. and it also include the certain rules that the database should obey. So in the beginning we saw maybe 6 tables, right? So our college database is having 6 tables. So those tables are also called as relations. So here relation has one more word or terminology that is called as concept. So a table is also called as a concept. So the set of tables that we use to describe our database, it is called as data model. So set of tables plus the rules, it is data model. So data model operations. So these include the operations which we specify for obtaining the data from the database and also changing the values that are there in the database. So the operations on data will include the basic operations such as insert, delete, and update. So apart from these, depending on the application, so users can uh, define their own operations. So data model is nothing but set of tables along with the rules that the database should obey. So based on this data model, so it can be categorized into 3 levels. So first level is the conceptual data model. It is also called as a high level or semantic data model. Second category includes physical. It is also called as a low level or internal data model. And the last category is the implementation data model. So we want to build a college database. How we look at that particular database from the perspective of a end user or from the perspective of a developer or a programmer or from the database admin. So depending on the role of the user, the data models for each role will be different. So for example, in the conceptual model, it is very close to many users who just look at the data and who are not bothered about how the database will be working and how the storage structures are implemented to store the data in the hard drive. So in our example, we connected from the Java program. So as a Java programmer, what is the view that is required for the developer? So that becomes the conceptual model or the semantic model. So it is also called as an entity based model or object based model. So here from a Java programmer point of view, so the database will be perceived as an entity or just as an object, and we doesn't bother about how the data is processed and stored in the hard disk. So that level of detail is called as conceptual data model, or the example which we discussed in the beginning of the class, that is 6 set of tables and the rules. If you just define that, that becomes the conceptual model. So physical model is the internal model. So this describes how the data is exactly stored on the hard disk. So this storage level detail is called as physical model, and we will not be working on physical level because that is the task of the DBMS software to do the storage part. Then the implementation model. So this provides the concepts that is in between the physical as and conceptual model. So it is a balancing view, and it is done uh, by the database admin. So admin will take care of the implementation details who deal with both the conceptual model and the physical model. So these are the 3 categories of data models. So now let us define few of other terms related to database. So first term, database schema. So schema is nothing but the description of the database. So this description includes the structure of the database as well as the constraints. So schema is part of the metadata. Metadata is nothing but the data that describes the database. So schema is also a part of metadata. So the 6 tables which we discussed, if we take out the 6 top rows of all those tables, I mean the column headers, those 6 column, I mean the table headers and the rules that we defined in our previous classes for storing each value in the database. So those header rows of all the tables and the rules, if we separate it, then that is called as the database schema. And if we represent those um, 6 table headers in a diagrammatic view, then it is called as a schema diagram. So schema diagram is a pictorial representation of the schema. Then, so here in schema, if any attribute is taking the value from other tables, then we will just indicate a arrow mark. So that arrow mark representation is part of the schema diagram. So in schema, we'll have 2 things. One, the row header, uh, the column header of all the tables, and with the arrow marks that indicates the relationship between the tables. So that pictorial representation is called as a schema diagram. The schema construct. So the schema construct is the component of the schema or the object within the schema. So all the table headers. So we had 6 tables. So we will be having 6 table headers. So all those 6 are called as schema construct. So schema diagram consists of the schema constructs and the relationship between the schema constructs. So again, here the table has another name, that is the schema construct. So next, database state. Database state means the actual data that is stored in the database at a particular time. It is called as a database state. So in our example, we had stored 3 students. So that 3 students values or data that is present in the table, that becomes the database state. So state means the current data. The other terms that are used for the database state is the snapshot or instance or occurrence. So the other terms include initial database state. So database state is the current data that is present in the database or the table. Initial database state means it refers to the state of the database when the data is loaded for the first time. So for example, when all of your data is stored in a college database for the very first time, all your semester would be in first sem. That is, the sem value will be 1. And that detail or that state of the database, it is called as initial database state. So valid state. So a state of database which satisfies both the structure and the constraints, then we say that the data is in the valid state. So which means the data that is there in the table, it should satisfy all the rules. Then that particular state becomes the valid state. Then distinction. So the database schema gets changed very rarely. So the schema means the structure of the table. The structure of the table includes the number of attributes it has and the data type of the attributes along with the rules. So these things are present in the database schema. So these rules or the structure of the table will change very rarely. So, but the database state changes every time the database is updated, because the database state is nothing is related to the data that is present inside the table. And again we have a two distinction. When we have a table, the first row it is called as the schema, and the remaining rows it is the data. And hence we have a distinction, that is the first row can also be called as a intention, and the remaining rows or the data it is called as extension. So the schema is also called as intention, whereas the data or the state it is called as extension. So these are the few terms related to database schema. So now we shall see architecture. So this is one of the famous architecture, that is three schema architecture. So this particular three schema architecture supports few of the characteristics of the DBMS. So one is the program and data independence, and support multiple views of data. So we had discussed the characteristics of DBMS in our earlier classes. So out of those, so the two are supported by this particular architecture. So this particular architecture has three levels. So let us look into the diagram. So internal level, conceptual level, and external level. So internal level, it is called as internal schema. Conceptual level, it is a middle layer, so that is called as conceptual schema. And the top layer, that is the external level, so it is also called as the external schema, or the entity related things will be present. So if you observe this particular diagram, so the internal schema deals with the storage. Storage means physical storage, how data is stored in the hard disks. The conceptual schema is the middle layer. External view will be present. External view on the other side is used by the end user. So how the end user sees the DBMS, that becomes the external view. The mapping from the external view to the conceptual view, so that becomes the external bar conceptual mapping. So it is mapping here is nothing but how one data model and the other data model is interlinked, and how we change the request from one model to another model. So that becomes the mapping. Then from conceptual level to internal level, we will have one more mapping. So that is conceptual bar internal mapping. So let us see what these three levels do. So internal schema, it is the uh, internal layer that describes the physical storage structures and the access path. So it typically uses the physical data model. Then conceptual schema, it is the second. It is at the second level. So it is used to describe the structure and the constraints of the whole database for a community of users. So here community of users means all the users, programmer, uh, which includes the developer, database admin, and all the end users. So for those set of users, the conceptual schema will be visible. Then the external schema is at the external level. So it is used to describe how the various users view the data. So how we see the data when we run the program. So that is the external level. How the programmer while developing a program or while writing a code sees the database, that is the conceptual schema. And how exactly the data is going to be stored on a hard disk, that is the internal schema. So this distinction of the layers is important, because the end user, I mean the one who is using the application, need not know how it is going to store. So this separation helps in interlinking of the activities that takes place in linking a application to the storage structures. So end user who will be, for example, let us say this particular user wants to see all the student details. So what does this particular user do? From the external view, he will send a command. So he will send a command to get all the student details. So that command will now reach the conceptual level. From here, the conceptual level, what happens is that command will be transferred, will be modified and transferred to the internal schema level. And the internal schema level will extract that particular data from the hard disk. So for example, here the external user may write a command like this: select star from student or students. So assuming that the students is the name of the table. So this is the SQL command. So SQL stands for structured query language. So that is a language which we use for interacting with the database. So this is one command. So what does this particular command do is it will get details of all the students that are present in the student table. So this particular user will issue this command. So only this particular command is issued, and this user need not worry about where the student details are present and how it is present in the storage or the hard disk. Now what happens, this mapping will modify this particular command into other things, like it will reach over here, then so external view will send this particular command over here. So this command will be transferred to conceptual schema. Now what does the conceptual schema does is it will modify the command whichever is sent according to the how it is stored or mapped in the database. And as a database user, we will not get to know this thing. So only this particular command we will be sending. Whatever command is being received over here, it gets modified and then it is sent to the internal schema. How it is going to modify? What does it do? So that is all done by the uh, database software implementation. So those who develop the database software, they will do it. As a programmer, we need not worry about how it is developed and how that particular modification takes place. So once the modified command reaches the internal schema, based on this particular modification, it will search the related data in the entire database. It will extract it, and the extracted data is sent to the conceptual schema. Then the particular conceptual schema will modify the result and present to end user in a table format. So the result will be in a tabular structure like this. So with rows and columns. So the result may be a plain text or something, that how the software maps it, but the end user will view only the table structure. So from this command, from the user, we will get the table structure as the output, and all the mappings and changing the command will be taken care by those two inner layers. And this is how the three schema architecture or a general DBMS software works. So as a user, we will just work with commands like this, and our result will be a table. Clear? So mapping, as I mentioned earlier, so mapping among the schema levels, it is required to transform the requests and the data. So from the user end, our request is a command. It will get transformed once it reaches the next layer. On the other side also, the data gets also transformed. So this transformation of a request and a data, it is called as a mapping. So the user level programs always refer to the external schema and are mapped by the DBMS software to internal schema for execution. And how the mapping takes place, so the user need not worry about it. So as a database user, we will work with the external schema. So then we have the concept data independence. So we can discuss this particular database independence in our next class.